Hello, good evening, and welcome to Eurowatch with the LFC Daytrippers. I'm your host, Keith Plunkett. Tonight, I'm joined by Chris, Brack, and Conor. Give me your second name again here, Conor, because I'm going to make a bollocks of this.
McCockerty, exactly. Got
there
it in one.
Go. There you go. That's how I'd pronounce it from an Irish point of view, but I know the English people have different pronunciations for these names, these common sense Irish names, but, we didn't want to...
I'd just say Conor.
Yeah, that's easy. I gave half of your second name, Chris, so I felt I needed to give Conor the full works. I'm not happy these games going to extra time and penalties, lads, and we're only starting a show at 10 to 11, but it is what it is. This is the world we live in, and there's nothing we can do about it. So, look, boys, thanks for coming on. We'll have a chat. We'll have a look back at the last week, really, so the quarterfinals, and we'll look back at tonight's semi-final. And look ahead to the England game tomorrow, the other semi-final. So, gentlemen, how are you? Conor, I'll start with you. Are you enjoying the Euros?
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm a bit devastated that it's coming to an end, actually. It's been sort of relentless football non-stop for the last couple of weeks, and every game seemingly has been top quality. For the last couple of weeks, they've, I think, sort of steadily got better as the sort of lesser teams have dropped out. The quality's improved. I mean, you just have to look at tonight. Some of the quality of football on show is exceptional. End-to-end stuff. Real composure from some of the players in midfield, especially. Nice tactical battles as well. So, yeah, disappointed that it's coming to an end, but hopefully we'll have a nice climax in the next couple of days and towards the weekend.
Indeed. Chris, what about yourself? Happy enough for how it's panning out? Are you in the same camp as Conor? I think it's been a high-quality tournament where the cream is starting to rise to the top.
I'm not sure if it's high quality. I think it's been high entertainment because there's been some absolutely manic moments. I mean, both goalkeepers tonight were trying to do a Carius. They were trying to kick it in for the other team. There were those moments, but there have been some high quality moments. I think it's been quite entertaining though. I have enjoyed the games. Most of the games have been, even some of the England, even section of the England games have actually been all right. But we are sort of seeing, and it does seem to be a tactic, is if you're quite defensively sound, you tend to get to the semis of the final. The more free flowing attacking sides, they're all getting picked off because they're not clever enough defensively. It's not pretty, but actually, if you're a bit more solid and a bit dull, it does tend to get you through. Because even Italy tonight, I thought reverted to type a little bit and went, we're going to sit deep and we're going to go counter attack, which is what Italy have done for forever. And it played into Spain's hands because Spain, to me tonight, had all the ball and no one to score. It sort of played into their hands, really.
It's a good point that Chris makes, Conor, isn't it? That it's the defensive solidity seems to be coming through in this. And if we look at the teams that got into the quarterfinals, Belgium played Italy. Belgium were a solid enough defensive team. Italy have been absolutely rock solid. That was one of the quarterfinals, the first one. Italy went through there 2-1. People were talking about it at the time as a game of the tournament, the world number one against probably the informed team. I mean, it's the 30-odd games now that Italy are unbeaten in. Do you feel that game lived up to the billing of the big one so far?
I think so. I think Belgium were ever so slightly underwhelming. But perhaps that's just because Italy nullified their talents. I mean, they lost Hazard, and I don't think De Bruyne had his most influential game, perhaps recovering slightly from that knock he picked up in the previous game. But I thought Italy were excellent and have continued to be throughout this entire tournament. Really, they have looked like the standout team from day dot from the first game. They've been incredibly impressive. And I think you're right in that success is built on a foundation of defensive solidity. They set up with an incredibly resolute defense, as Italian teams have always typically done, with some real sort of solidity in midfield. Jorginho has looked excellent this entire tournament. What about that for a penalty to wrap it up tonight as well? But yeah, quality performances from them all round, really, I think.
Yeah, it's you're right. I don't think De Bruyne was fit in this the Belgium game. I said it on one of our shows before. I think as a world number one, I find Belgium a bit of an underwhelming team. You know, I don't think they seem to be one of these teams, and England were sort of like this as well previously, other teams as well, where they fly through qualification games, groups, and they rack up their points in the coefficient and they get to number one. But I never, if it's the Euros and anyone can win it, but I never felt Belgium were really good enough to win this tournament. So, you know, you look at their defence, they were solid enough. Courtois really, since Courtois left Chelsea, and I know you're a Chelsea fan, Conor, he's really stepped it up a bit, you know, and he was a good keeper with you. I'm not saying he wasn't, but he seemed to have lost his way a bit and went to Madrid, and it didn't initially happen for him, but he's excellent again. And he was the one that I thought, you know, Alderweireld, Vermaelen, Vertonghen, an experienced back three, but an aging back three. And I just felt that they didn't really have the same solidity that Italy maybe had at their back. But Belgium in Lukaku had, in my opinion, maybe the only big striker who's maybe showed up at the Euros. People would say Kane. I don't think Kane has been great. People say the other Schick, but Schick isn't top quality. Schick has been good, but he wouldn't be the top drawer. You know what I mean? But yeah, it was the game itself. If you look at Belgium and Italy, I mean, it's some great goals in it. You know, the two Italian goals are two excellent goals. They battered Belgium in the first half. Belgium get a penalty, and the onslaught never really came. Chris, did you feel Belgium were underwhelming in this, or do you think Italy just sort of managed the game well?
I've said it before. Belgium are the Leicester City of international football. Those thereabouts always talked up, but never quite there at the end points. I expected Italy to go through. I thought they would. I just thought that their experience and their know-how would tell through. De Bruyne clearly isn't fit. I mean, there's a talk about it now that he was playing with a damaged ankle ligament, which if you're a City fan, you'd be tearing your hair out. I mean,
yeah,
look,
I'm not happy with that.
I mean, we had it with Abby Keita. He was playing in the AFCON with a torn thigh, and then you wonder, you know, I mean, that's not the
2 weeks into an 8-week injury.
You know, so you'd be tearing your hair out. I mean, look, if you're De Bruyne, you know why he's played. It's a chance to get to a semi-final. You know, it's probably the last time he's going to get to a semi-final. Ali A says the more Spurs said no, because no one talks about Spurs winning. But people have been talking about Leicester, you know, breaking into the top four. So Belgium, they've always been that side that you thought people keep saying the dark horses are going to do this. I kind of think that team's run its cycle now.
Yeah.
I think all the key players they need now are getting to 30 or getting to the wrong side of 30. They're going to have to start another cycle again. It's whether they can get, you know, another cycle of that crop through. Not convinced. So, no, my concern for Italy was when Spizzola, he ruptured his Achilles, hasn't he?
Yeah.
And I did wonder tonight, tonight's game was, Emerson's not the same level. No, and I did think that was an area of weakness then for Spain and other clubs to go at Italy, because Spizzola's different level compared to Emerson, with great respect. So, no, I've been impressive. But Italy, I think they were very free flowing in the group stages, but they have now gone back to a bit more of the Italian pragmatic approach. They're just very electric now on the break, which is very un-Italian.
Yeah, before we move off, Kev O'Sullivan says Doku was that bright light, and that's it. I think they've young players there coming through, but it's a big bridge, isn't it, between the potential that they have coming through and the experience of a golden generation. We've seen this with Portugal before as well, who had a golden generation in the 90s, and it takes time for this to bridge that gap. But anyway, Italy go through there and they face Spain tonight, because Spain beat Switzerland in the other quarter final on that side of the draw. I'm not going to lie, I'm going to say something that might be a bit controversial. Shaqiri was on track to be the player of the tournament in this, right? Because I genuinely think he was one of the most exciting players in the tournament. Now,
fitness letting
I
down.
didn't think I'd be saying that about Xherdan Shaqiri in the Euros, and I'm saying this not as a Liverpool Xherdan Shaqiri, because I just think it's increasing the price tag for him to be sold on. Do you know what I mean? I'm not trying to hype up a Liverpool player, but I was surprised that the level of consistency Shaqiri puts out for Switzerland his fitness is an issue, Chris. You're right there, but he always seems to be available for them and never for us. You know, he's like a different player, isn't he, when he pulls on that Swiss jersey?
I mean, he's allowed to play as a 10 behind. He's allowed to play a free role in the 10 behind 2 strikers, which Liverpool don't play that way. You know, if we played 4-2-3-1, we do that. But like you said, his fitness can't be relied on. And to be honest, he's a bit like Lallana when he first signed for Liverpool. He's great until 70, but you even see him for Switzerland in every game. So when he hits 70, he's done. He's absolutely done. And as soon as they went down to 10 men, you were going, well, that Shaqiri ain't lasting much longer. Which is a shame, because if he was a little bit fitter, he could have been influenced. I mean, I think Spain got away with it a little bit against Switzerland. And people tell me they dominated the ball, they were this, they were that. The keeper really properly got worked, I thought, in extra time. And that's mainly because they went down to 10 men. And I mean, the send-off's farcical. But, you know, interestingly, the game that an English referee is in charge and VAR, it all goes a bit tits up, which, you know, there's a correlation there. I'm sure, you know, we'll get used to that when the Premier League starts again.
Yeah, who'd have thunk it. But Barry Devon, he puts up there, big shout, Keith, nowhere near there, most surprising maybe. And the point I'm sort of getting at with this, Conor, I'll come to you, is I don't think there's been many stars in this tournament. Do you know what I mean? I think it sounds a bit stupid. I think, you know, obviously, right, I think Jorginho and the Italian defence have been amazing. I did think Locatelli was excellent until he was replaced then by Verratti. I think Pedri has been one of the best players in the tournament, but there hasn't really been that standout star that we've had in other tournaments, and that's what I was sort of getting at, that, you know, this tournament hasn't had the big superstar. I mean, Raheem Sterling scored 3 goals for England. I think he's been poor in most of his games. Not a dig at Sterling. I just don't think, you know, there's been that sort of fantastic player of this tournament. Yeah. Did you feel that? Do you feel, that there's still 2 games to go now? Who do you think is going to grab the tournament by the scruff of the neck, Conor? Is there anyone that you think we can remember this tournament for at this stage?
Well, I think anyone who gets a decisive goal or creates a decisive moment in the semis or the final creates their own legacy. There are still opportunities for that to arise. But I think you're right in that the standout teams, or the teams that have progressed so far, they've been, you know, the entire thing's been underpinned by the team synergy. You haven't really had a standout player. You look at Italy, you know, everyone was expecting Insigne maybe to be their standout guy, the guy who creates those or provides those moments in the final third. Not sure although he's looked good at times and in glimpses, he hasn't really turned it on for certain, you know, standout moments. England, everyone expected Harry Kane to have the tournament that really sold his move to City or elsewhere. I mean, fine, if he can turn it on for the knockout stages, I'd be happy for him to score own goals for the entire group stage. If he was going to turn it on for the quarter, semis and the final, fine. So there's still an opportunity for him to create a legacy for himself that can go down in history. But personally, I don't really see it. I don't see an opportunity for someone to be the standout player of this tournament. I'm struggling really to pick out a player of the tournament, to be honest. Of course, it depends on the winner. Perhaps, you know, it'll follow that trend of centre-backs or the sort of linchpin of the defensive unit getting all the recognition. Maybe even if England win it, Harry Maguire could be an outside chance. I think since he's come back into the side, he has looked exceptional. I'd say against Ukraine, he was deservedly man of the match. Looked exceptional against Germany as well.
Yeah, I wouldn't say he was man of the match against Ukraine.
Who'd you give it to?
I thought Shaw and Sterling were more impressive.
Mm-hmm.
I think on the quiet, Shaw's had a very good tournament. I mean, look, as Liverpool fans, we love to take the mickey out of United fan, but you've got to give him credit. He's actually probably been one of the most informed left backs this year.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
In fairness to him.
Yeah, I'd have him in the top sort of 3 left backs in the world on form at the moment. Just before I get any pelters, I'd have Robbo up there as well. Mm-hmm. But I think Maguire, bringing him back into the team is that final push, provided that final push that the English team needed. If he wasn't there against Germany, perhaps it could have been a different story. But I agree with something that Keith said earlier. I think that Sterling, although he's had his moments and he's delivered in those moments, which is all you can ask from an attacking player, I don't think his all-round game has had the contribution that but perhaps we've been looking for or needed in certain occasions. But goals win games.
Yeah. He still has got better in the clutch moments, I would say, which has always been a criticism of him. In the clutch moments, he's renowned for missing or picking the wrong pass. He's probably got a bit better in this tournament of picking the pass when you need it. But his all-round game hasn't been quite right. I mean, we're a miss away from all going, Jesus Christ, Sterling, what happened there?
Yeah,
it's been that kind of tournament.
It's one of them. Conor was dead right there. It depends who wins the tournament and what the narrative will be. Because if England manage to win this tournament, nobody's going to remember in 10 years' time that Raheem Sterling didn't have a great tournament. If you look back and he's coming out with 5 goals, 6 goals for the tournament, do you know what I mean? So it's all about getting over the line. And Conor mentioned Harry Maguire there. Look, we give Harry Maguire a fair amount of stick on here. Harry Maguire is a good player and he's a good leader, and he gets a lot of stick because he's an £80 million player, and it's unfair it is what kills him, and it's unfair to put price tags on players because they don't make their own price tag. But ultimately, then you get thrown in with Virgil van Dijk, and we see this with Ruben Diaz as well. He's better than Van Dijk. He's better than Van Dijk. If England were going through this tournament with Mings or Cody or Ben White or whoever else it is,
you'd worry more.
You would be very, very worried. John Stones as the leader of a defence alongside one of them would have me sort of saying they're to be had. Harry Maguire has solidified them. He brings leadership, he brings organisation. He's not as bad as maybe we all make out. And he is giving them that, he's giving them that solidity that we're saying Italy have, that the good teams in this tournament have had. And we'll go to the England game now. The Spain and thing, it goes to penalties, some poor penalties in there. Leeds sets up the semi-final that we watched tonight. But if we look on the other side and we go to England now, so they beat the Ukraine 4-0. A great win for them. Only game away from Wembley. They go to Rome, they play the Ukraine. The Ukraine, in all fairness, not really up to much. It's a nice draw for England, but you have to win the match, and they get the perfect start, right? So,
yeah,
4 minutes, Chris, take it away.
Yeah, 4 minutes in, Sterling, to his credit, it's a nice reverse pass through to Kane, and Kane just dinks it over the keeper. I mean, the keeper makes it its decision for him because he goes down so early. But it's a perfect start for England, and you kind of feel England are about if they get a lead against that type of opposition, they normally see it out. My thing with England has always been it's normally against this type of opposition, Iceland or Ukraine, where England really just start to they make hard work of teams they shouldn't do. This was quite professional. I mean, look, everyone I've heard all the shouts for England. It's a pub side, it's a crap side. You played no one. You couldn't beat what's in front of you, and all England does is beating everyone they've played professionally. There's not more as you can do. You're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't.
Yeah.
If you're obviously a big England fan, Kane getting off the mark's probably what you want. You want your talisman off the mark because, Rashford again, and comes to the bench, he's more of a wide forward, so he is your main man. Calvert-Lewin is quite unproven at international level, so it's a risk if you've got to rely on him to come on to win your game. So for England, that's what you want. They probably made a bit of hard work of it, I'll be honest. After that, Pickford kept himself busy, but we kept them fairly quiet, and then second half was the same. Goal after 5 minutes?
1 minute. 46.
1 minute. Sorry. Great ball in. Harry Maguire can't miss. I mean, that's another thing Maguire has given England is before that they haven't got a set piece goal, and that was their mainstay for the previous World Cup was set piece goals. Love of legs and Harry Maguire, he is dominant for corners, and that's kind of what you need. And it was pretty comfortable. After that, then, and then obviously the Liverpool fans, Henderson came on, did well. They were able to protect Rice and Phillips, so they didn't get any more yellow cards, so they weren't suspended for the semis. Henderson showed what he can do, which is it's not what people think, which is the crab passes. It is forward passes. It is progressive. It is keeping them honest. And it's probably the first time probably since 2006 I've actually cheered an England goal properly like a Liverpool goal, because it was obviously my club captain scoring his first goal for England, which is quite nice to see.
Is that his first goal for England?
First ever goal for England.
Jesus. I don't really follow it too much, to be honest, lads. I'm not a big international football fan. I like more South American, Copa America stuff myself, but I don't really follow England, to be honest. So I didn't realise it was his first goal. It was a comprehensive win, and Conor, England take it away from the Ukraine at the start of the second half. So they scored on 46. Kane gets another one on 50. And the game's over then at that stage. I mean, I don't know, I think Chris might have said, if you scored early against a team like Ukraine, England are not going to get beaten. But they really did take it away from them. And by 63, then Henderson gets the goal. It turned into a nice run out for England, didn't it? It was no pressure quarter-final. And they didn't pick up any injuries, did they?
No, I don't think so.
Nope, no injuries, no suspensions when we could well have done. We had a few on yellows, both pivot players and Maguire, I think, were both susceptible to a suspension in the next game. So they did well to avoid that. I mean, you said it yourself, both of you guys, the early goal is the decisive thing here. Playing in these latter stages, players are inevitably going to feel nerves, especially when you have the entire weight of expectation of a nation on your shoulders. Yeah. And no one more so than England. So I think that early goal from Harry Kane really settled things. He needed that as well. He did score against Germany late on to wrap the game up, but it's good to see that he's starting to come into his own. I think his movement looked a lot sharper as well in that Ukraine game. And I think in the earlier stages, I don't think he would have even made that run in behind. But you mentioned it, the Ukraine team, I think that their course was run really. I think we got slightly lucky in the round of 16 game that, it was an absolute unequivocal red card in my opinion. But I think we got lucky that Swedish defender got sent off because I think they looked the most threatening team. I think that was a real sort of pivotal moment for them in that round of 16 game, and it really flipped it. And Ukraine managed to dominate and get a late goal in extra time. I think if Sweden came through, they would have been more of a match. Who knows? It's all hypothetical.
Yeah, ifs, buts, and maybes.
Exactly. But we did well, managed the expectations well. And now you're at the stage where you've got 2 games left to play. I think the Danes will be our biggest test. I think they've looked pretty exceptional, actually. They've by far been the sort of surprise team for me, especially against Wales. I was incredibly impressed. I remember looking up at the scoreboard, watching them play, thinking, this feels like a 90th minute sequence where they're just knocking it around the back. There's no press. They're completely comfortable in all phases of the pitch. And it was 67 minutes on the clock. They were dominant from the very first minute. So
nice segue, Conor. Nice segue. We'll go on to the Denmark-Czech game. So it was another good win. 2 teams, the Czechs, I think, maybe lucky to get where they were, maybe haven't, the bits I've seen of them, haven't been overly impressed with them. I thought Schick has done okay as a centre forward in the tournament, but overall I don't think they were that great. But Denmark, again, an early goal, and early goals seem to be decisive in this tournament. As we've said, a lot of strong defences, and Denmark go up after 5 minutes, I think. 5 minutes. Tommy Delaney, must be Irish, that fella, scores and gets them off the mark. And
even though it should have been a goal kick, which obviously was the big fuss about that goal.
Yeah.
Horrendous defending. Absolutely horrendous defending.
It was terrible. It was terrible. But they go into the start the game, 5 minutes, score a goal. Close to half time, get a second. And you're just thinking that, like, in this tournament, decisive times to get goals, early goal and a goal before half time, you think they're going to put it to bed. But then the Czechs pull one back in the second half. Schick gets one about 5 minutes into the second half. It was an impressive game, but what I sort of want to move on to is injuries in the tournament are starting to take their toll. And I think England have been actually very lucky. Not lucky. I mean, you don't get luck by picking up injuries or whatever, but they haven't really lost many, whereas the other teams are seeing players dropping like flies. And people mentioned Spinazzola earlier going for Italy, and there's players going off. Do you think the fitness of this England squad will see them through, especially against the Danes? The Danes, to me, seem to be running on adrenaline because of the Christian Eriksen thing that happened at the very start. They look buoyant. They look buoyant together by the fact that, their talisman, their main player, their creative fulcrum, nearly, nearly dies on the pitch in the first game, and everything then just seems to be spurring them on. Is momentum going to be enough for Denmark to get them past this England team? And Conor, will ask you that.
I think potentially yes. I mean, we forget that this is only 2 games, and you're right. I think they are riding an emotional wave, but that's not to downplay from the quality of their team. They've got a really good core. Schmeichel in goal, good player. Kier and Christensen at the back are quality. Their front line. Yeah, exactly. They've got some real talent at the back, and that is where the foundations lie for a success in an international tournament. We've seen that all the way through. Their attacking line is where it remains to be seen. I think Brathwaite, Dolberg, Poulsen, players like that, not especially clinical or high scoring players, but they've managed to convert their chances. They've had some standout players. I think both wing backs, Smiler and Striga Larsen, have looked really good.
Yeah.
But I think, to answer the question, I think with only 2 games to go, anything can happen. You get through a semi and then anything can happen in a final. So I think they could potentially do it. But it does, it remains to be seen.
Yeah, Chris, I mean, before we'll come back to the England-Denmark game in a second. Actually, we'll talk about the semi-final that was on tonight. So we had Italy and Spain. I've been hugely impressed with Italy from the start. They're the team that I've supported the way through it. I'd love Italy in any way, but they're the team. They're the most balanced team, in my opinion. They look up for a scrappy win, or if they try to play expansive, they can play expansive. Spain have played the tiki-taka stuff, but this Spanish team, it doesn't really excite me because, you've got a guy in goal, Unai Simon. I don't think he's great. He's a bit mad.
How bad's David De Gea if he's getting picked out of him? Yeah. It's like do you remember the old FIFA games where you press the wrong button and the keeper would run off? He's like that.
Yeah.
He like you need to put him on like an Elazi band to keep him on the line, because some of the runs he was doing off his line, he was going to no man's land. So look, he's an okay keeper, but Spain just look like what they are. A very good side with no striker. No striker of any quality. If they had, with what they've had in the past, David Villa or a Fernando Torres, they'd be fine.
Yeah, but the goalkeeper's a good point on the keeper, because De Gea is on the bench, but your man Robert Sanchez off Brighton is on the bench as well. They're their goalkeepers. And Spain, I know you can't help who the personnel are, but in World Cups and all before, they're going in with Casillas and Victor Valdez, and Pepe Reina is the distant third. Yeah. And he's just in there as the morale booster in the dressing room. I talk about the attacking talent dying away in this Spanish team, but the goalkeeping, they're the goalkeeping, and Conor will know with Kepa as well. Great. So you have nightmares over him. But there seems to be an issue there in goal for Spain at the moment.
He also doesn't know who his best centre-back partnership is. He kept swapping. If it was Laporte, plus sometimes Eric Garcia, who I think Italy targeted a bit, and then it was Pau Torres, who I think is probably the better out of the two. Mm-hmm. He did well for Villarreal in the Europa League final, but he's not got that settled either. They're still relying on an aging Azpilicueta, who's been a brilliant player, but how old's Azpilicueta now?
31, I think. 31.
Oh, I thought he was older. That's fair.
I thought he was 41. Yeah, I was about 34.
I get that. You think he's older than he is, but there's no one really pushing Azpilicueta. But I just look at their attack and just think I was looking at their bench going, you've got Amanda Traore as one of your bench options.
Mm-hmm. I think they should have utilised him a lot more, Adama, especially tonight. I think he should have come on really early.
Did he get any games? Did he come on at all?
He came on late against Slovakia, but they were about 4-0 up by that time. Yeah. And I think he was preparing to come on at the end of today's game, but I don't think he made an appearance, did he, tonight?
No, he didn't. I'm just checking it. Yeah, Slovakia is the only one he got on.
Yeah, which is crazy, because he has such a niche at being able to just beat a defender. He's not got the greatest decision making, and sort of capabilities to find a pass or whatever. But he's a unique player and a unique skill set, and if you utilize him properly, it can be devastating.
Why bring him if you're not going to utilise him in any way? And that's the thing about Spain in this tournament, that it's been a bit frustrating. Luis Enrique only brought 24 players and he could have brought 26, right? But that's been well documented.
Just throw 2 kids on the bench.
just two fellas out of the under-21s if needs be. But it was a strange one, and he brought Thiago. Right, we love Thiago. Me and Chris, not so much Conor. Right, we love Thiago on a Liverpool glasses on, but even before that, like, geez, Thiago's a class act in midfield. He's a bit part player in the Spanish team. Do you know what I mean? So the inconsistency with the selections of Enrique has been a bit mad. Conor, Chris touches on it there. The centre-back pairings chopping and changing all the time. Azpilicueta comes in then and he's playing right back because Llorente is the other option and he's a midfielder. But he's all of a sudden the right back for Spain. Koke, Busquets and Pedri start in midfield. That's decent, yeah. That's a good midfield. You can't really argue with that. But up top for me, right? So Ferran Torres, Oyarzabal and Dani Olmo. Again, it's chopping and changing. It's the consistency just isn't there in the Spanish team, and it just seemed an absolute mad tournament from Enrique.
Yeah, I think they've. I think you're right. They've got there's been some strange selections. I think with international football, managers typically have favourites that they stick with. For some reason, I know Ramos had injury problems towards the end of the season. I would have taken him even if it was just for morale and for team spirit and leadership purposes. I don't think you can have three starting centre backs being Pau Torres, Laporte, and Garcia.
Yeah,
I think Garcia just looked out of place the entire game today.
He looks like a lad who's not played a lot of football.
Yeah, of course, and he hasn't. I think maybe his stature is sort of misleading. But he can't be. He's not over 6 foot, is he? He's sort of 5'11", something like that. He looks out of place.
Yeah, he's not Cannavaro, is he? Who could get away with being that short?
Of course, Cannavaro had a leap on him. Garcia remains to be seen, but I think Pau Torres came on and he was playing line-breaking passes. He looked dominant in the air. I mean, and to go with Laporte, who I thought was the man of the match today, I thought he was pretty exceptional. A strange decision to leave him out for such important games towards the latter stages. You're right, the midfield, I think Busquets has to be there. And I think Pedri, standout young player of the tournament. Nothing more needs to be said about him. Only 18 years old. He's going to be a big, big talent. Koke, I would have played Thiago over him.
It's mad they brought Rodri on as first change instead of Thiago. Yeah. In a game where you're going, Spain couldn't get a foot on the ball at times in terms of to play decisive passing against the team that just basically were happy to defend. And admittedly, when Thiago came on, I don't think he had the best of games.
Nah,
but in general, if you give him time on the pitch, he probably would have given him more of a chance. Now, whether someone like Morata can take it is a different matter. I mean, Gerard Moreno's been hasn't had the best of tournament, but actually was really good for Villarreal. This was, I can see why you selected, but he's been a bit underwhelming as well. I mean, Morata is Morata. He could score the goal he does, but then he'll miss absolute sitters.
Yeah, and I think again, it comes back to Adama Traore. I think he's an excellent squad option to have tonight. Maybe, I know they hooked Azpilicueta halfway through and brought on Llorente to provide maybe a bit more attacking impetus, but why not bring on Adama at right back if you're trying to go all out for the game in the last sort of 20 minutes of extra time? Why not bring him on at right wing? Morata's strength, we all know when it gets to his feet and he's got time to think about it, sometimes he fluffs his lines. Aerially, he's an exceptional finisher. You got Adama, we saw that Adama Raul Jimenez link up a couple of years ago. That could have been emulated, I think, with Adama and Morata this tournament, but didn't happen. And now they're out.
Yeah, Luis Enrique knows better than us, apparently. If he watches this show, I think he'll find he doesn't.
Subscriber, the big contributor.
Yeah, I heard these. I hope you hit the like button. By the way, anyone who's watching us tonight, don't forget to hit that like button, hit the subscribe. You won't regret it. That's all I would say. We put out top quality content all the time, and we appreciate all the support we get. But tonight was all about Italy. In my opinion, I've said it already, I feel they're the most balanced team. And the reason I say that, I look at England, and we'll talk about them in a minute. I see a goalkeeper in Pickford that, and again, this could be a bias coming out because we've seen him before and we know what he does, but he's a keeper that I don't think has been tested. And I'm waiting on waiting on him to drop the bollock. You know what I mean? That he inevitably will drop.
He did try against Ukraine to drop the bollock. I think at 4-0, I think he tried his best. But you know that's in it.
A high profile one, you know what I mean? You can drop one at 4-0 and you'll get away with it. But I just think, and that's maybe me being harsh on Pickford, you know, England haven't conceded a goal. Like it's not a weakness, but you know, I think, you know, there's areas that a good team can exploit with England. I think Rice is poor. I think Calvin Phillips is a good player, but you know, I think that as a midfield pivot, it can be got at. Just my...
Say careful now, Joe's in the chat, he'll be after
I know Joe's in the chat, yeah, I seen him in there, and I don't care, Joe. Calvin Phillips is a good player, I'll give you that one. Declan Rice, not so much, and I know he's an ex-Chelsea man, and he's been linked again with Chelsea, Conor, but you're not having it. He's terrible. We don't like him over here, and anyway, so I'm throwing him under the bus. But no, in all seriousness, I just think there's a couple of... you know, the attack for England hasn't sparked yet, in my opinion, but they get a 4-0 win and Kane gets a couple of goals and Sterling's getting there as well. But I just think Italy as a unit, Donnarumma has impressed me in goal. I think he's a very, very good goalkeeper. He's only 22. We keep saying it. He's in the Milan team since he's 16 or 17. He feels like he's been around for absolute eternity. And he's a big unit, and he looks so composed in goal. So, you know, you start at the back with Italy and they have that. The defence...
Do you think he's had a good tournament?
I think he's been good. Yeah, I think he's been good. I don't think he's been exceptional, but I think he's been good.
I found him erratic, especially the ball at his feet, but just some decision made for crossing has just been a very odd. Shot stopping wise, no problem with it. You know,
yeah,
he's got that. You know what I mean? He's got that Schmeichel bill where you just think, Christ, how'd you get past that?
He's a big fucker, right? He's a unit, and he does have that sort of, you know, how do you get by him? Maybe he's a bit lax with his distribution, but in general, I think he's been good. You know, I think he's had a decent tournament. Kev O'Sullivan says it there. Under pressure, his distribution is poor. He's amazed Spain didn't press him more, and that's what the other semi-finals will have to look at doing. But in front of him, right, you've got, in my opinion, Chiellini and Bonucci is one of the best centre-half partnerships in my lifetime, right? They're so fucking tough, the two of them. They've been around, they know each other. You know, they've played together at club level, they played together at international level. I just think they complement each other well. And even though they're getting older, they're still excellent players. And something that Conor said, you know, about Sergio Ramos, he mightn't have had the best year for Spain, but his leadership and his experience in the back alongside Laporte might have made a difference for this Spanish team, because there's been players, Pepe is another one at Portugal, 38. He's still playing and looking good. You know, there's centre-backs have been really good in this tournament. But Italy lost Spinazzola in that last game. And your boy, Conor, Emerson Palmieri, comes in. He's a bit of a con man, isn't he?
Yeah, I mean, he's got a few elements to his game, but I don't think he's much of an all-rounder. And the thing is...
I'll just jump in. I don't watch much of him. The bits I've seen at Chelsea hasn't really impressed me. So
nobody watches much of him.
Chelsea doesn't watch him either.
Exactly. He's sort of our third choice left back. I mean, at times this season, Tuchel's played him as sort of the left centre back in a three, and I think that is testament to his sort of lack of boldness. I don't think he's adventurous at all on the ball. He doesn't take risks. You saw it a couple of times in today's game. Early on, that chance for, I can't remember who was running through. He had an opportunity to play a ball in the first 10 minutes and draw out Simon. And he just sort of waited a little too long and didn't play the pass at the right time, and it was given as offside. Same thing happened a couple of times earlier. I think he had a one-on-one, just hesitated slightly. And I think that's what Spinazzola brings, is that little bit of conviction to make a decision, to provide a little bit of impetus, a little bit of something, maybe a bold risk or something that just, you know, opens the game up or confuses the opponent. Something that Emerson he's a safe player, so I think he held him back slightly in that regard.
Yeah, Di Lorenzo again, he's okay on the other side, but Jeremiah, pops a comment in here, and it's interesting. He genuinely believe England can seriously damage Italy on the wings. And it is sort of looking like that is an area now of, as I've said, about the best balanced team.
If you can get the ball.
Yeah, but if you get the ball and you get it quickly to whether it's, I don't know who's going to play, if they get to a final, is it going to be Sterling and it won't be Foden? I'd say it's going to be...
It's either Sancho or Grealish, you'd say. You would have thought.
Saka, is he back or is he ruled out, or what's the story?
I don't know. I think he picked up a nickel, didn't he? So
yeah, but it was just a knock, I think.
Yeah, but what I mean is he can get the ball of Italy. Because actually, I would say their midfield is better in possession than the two we've got, especially Rice.
But I think it will play into England's hands slightly. I mean, we've set up with these two deeper pivot midfielders, Rice and Phillips, with Rice sitting a bit deeper and Phillips roaming a little bit more, being a bit more adventurous. But I think Italy's problem with ball retention, they've got great ball retention in the middle, Jorginho, Verratti, and whether it's Barella or Locatelli, they're fine keeping the ball. But it's once they get it out wide to Insigne, Berardi, Chiesa, players like that, that's when you initiate the press, and that's when you can turn it over. And by setting up as England do with their defensive sort of, depends if we play a 5 at the back with the 2 pivot or a 4, with that back 5.
I hope we play a 4. I don't like the 3.
No, I don't think so. I think we'll probably play a 5 against Denmark to match them up tomorrow. But I think, I think against Italy, that's when you can initiate that press, and that's when they can be vulnerable, turning it over, deep in our pitch and then breaking with speed. I think will provide some problems for them.
Chris touched on it there about getting the ball off that midfield, and to me, it's I love the Italian defense, but the Italian midfield unit has been the most impressive for me throughout the tournament. I think the mix, the variety, because we started off in the groups, and I thought Locatelli was the standout player of that maybe the whole tournament at that stage, and now he's on the bench because Marco Verratti is just coming back in, and what a player to have in there. And if you're looking to keep the ball, Jorginho and Verratti with Barella running and pushing, and then you've also got the option to bring in a Locatelli, or you can bring in Pessina or one of these other guys off the bench, that Brian Cristante as well. There's so many options that they have. And I touched on the England midfield earlier because I do rate Calvin Phillips. I think he's good. I don't rate Declan Rice, and I just think if those Italian midfielders can get in around him, I think Italy can put England under pressure that way. We will come on to the potential of England in a second, but as a unit, how impressed have you been with the midfielders? Chris, I'll come to you.
The Italian midfielders?
Yeah, the Italian midfield.
Yeah, very impressed. You could see Jorginho with the right base around him, what he can do, because obviously on the ball, Jorginho can hurt a lot of teams, and defensively he's been quite good. Barella, I hadn't seen loads of him before this tournament. He just looked fantastic. I've enjoyed watching the Italians play. And going on for the midfield, Chiesa, the Juventus wide man, just looks brilliant. I'm actually surprised he's not played as much as I probably think he should have played a bit more. Yeah, because I think it's been really good for Italy. I think it gives them something a bit different.
He does. He's that bit of creativity, Conor, isn't he? And Italy seem to have those options as well in those wide areas with Chiesa, with Insigne, with Berardi and Bernardeschi. But centrally, they don't have a centre forward worth the bleeding.
No, and they brought on, they took off Immobile quite early today and brought on, was it Berardi?
Belotti. Was it? Yeah.
Yeah, they brought on Belotti a bit later on, who I thought had a horrible game.
Berardi, 62.
Yeah, so they brought on Berardi, who was okay, had a couple nice touches, made some dangerous runs. I think Berardi, if we were to compare to an English equivalent, would be Sterling. Great runs in behind. He can be a dangerous player, but in his all-round contribution to the game can be often frustrating. Belotti, I thought, was very poor today, and I think has been for the last.
That's been polite.
Yeah, I know there was an opportunity. I mean, he's lucky that they got through, but there was an opportunity to play someone through down the right-hand side. I think it was Chiesa, and he just completely fluffed his lines. Really easy pass, happened a few times. But you're right, that depth in the middle is really impressive. They have all sorts of profiles, Verratti and Locatelli and Jorginho. You're right saying that Jorginho needs the right support cast for him to flourish. And if he's got that support cast, he can be an exceptional player. They provide that in abundance with depth, with players like Pessina on the bench as well to come back into the fold. So, yeah, it's a dangerous area for them. I don't think their lack of centre forward hinders them too much, especially in international football. But we'll see. We'll see how that plays out in the next couple of games.
Yeah, and you can see where the goals are sort of coming from with them. It is the wide forwards, sort of Chiesa cutting in onto a good foot, Berardi, Insigne. They are the threat in those wide areas. And when you have a guy like Barella as well, who's just constantly supporting, it's a nice blend that they have going on. But
it does feel like Italy are clinical, as in they don't seem to create a lot, but they do seem to be. Look, tonight it only took them a few shots, and they scored. Where I think Spain had like 20 shots to even work the keeper. Yeah. So as much as I don't rate either of the two centre forwards they've got, I don't think they're quite at the level. But it's a system that just seems to work where it seems to always fall to a Chiesa or an Insigne, basically the player you want it to fall to. And that's not an accident. That's obviously by design. Because they have got probably I would say the best coach in the tournament, which is probably what's going to help them. So whoever plays Italy in the final is going to have a really, really tough game.
Yeah, true. You're right there, Chris. I just checked. So Italy had 7 shots, 4 on target. Spain had 16 shots, 5 on target. They are a bit clinical, Conor, aren't they, the Italians, in that they're maybe not creating as much, but they're trying to take as many as they can, or at least work the opportunities as best they can. And that's what got them through tonight. They took a lead, an excellent goal, in fairness, by Chiesa. Simon's a bit positioning, probably a bit dodgy on from the Spanish point of view, but they take a lead. They looked to be getting in behind the Spanish for a period there. Then after that, there was a few little through balls and a few little decisive passes that just didn't come off for them really. But then Spain get a chance. Spain were decent tonight, and they get a chance, and it falls to Morata. And we say, you said, I think, Conor, that if he has time to think about these things, forget about it. But when it drops to him like that, he is quite a decent finisher, and obviously as a Chelsea fan you would have seen him a lot more than we would. Do you feel that Morata as a centre forward was maybe, I don't know who else they have in reserve, but did Italy ever stand a chance? I was saying about Belotti and Immobile not being top quality centre forwards for Italy. I don't think they hinder Italy, whereas I do think Morata probably hindered Spain. Or am I being too harsh?
Hindsight is obviously 2020, and I think looking back on it, I think picking Oyarzabal was an awful decision. I mean, he didn't look good in any of his sort of cameo appearances throughout the tournament, and that sort of all came to fruition tonight. I thought he could have had a hat trick probably. He had a real set of really nice chances that he could have put away. I think with Morata, he's an interesting player, and I think I probably would have started him. I think he creates dangerous opportunities, and often he misses them. But the fact that he's continually creating, it is a cliche, but the fact that he's continually getting these chances shows that he's doing something right. His movement is exceptional. Perhaps his confidence wasn't there, and it's a shame. I really did feel bad for him when he missed that penalty, because it's just a culmination of everything. But I think I wouldn't say that he hinders Spain, because they don't have any sort of alternative that would sort of help them in any more so than he did. So it's a tough one. I don't like Moreno through the middle. I think he's an inside forward, goal scoring inside forward. Maybe they could have played for a false 9. Don't know if they have that profile in their team. It's a tricky one, but I think I still would have gone for Morata up top, regardless of his sort of confidence and goal scoring issues.
Olmo plays, doesn't he, as the false 9 tonight, and he's an up and down player, Danny Olmo. I thought he was decent tonight in in the false nine. I thought he was okay, but you're spot on. Hindsight's a wonderful thing. To slam her after he go out, I just don't feel as, I don't know. His hold up play isn't great. I don't know what it is about him. I just can't. He's got an excellent agent, put it that way, because the moves that fella has got for his ability and the price tags. Like, I think he went on an 18 million loan to Juventus this season. The money that people have paid, that have seen something in Morata that I don't. Look, I'm not I'm not some expert scout by any stretch of the imagination.
He's got a brilliant agent.
Yeah, brilliant agent, brilliant head of hair.
Yeah, almost as good as Choupo-Moting's agent. Yeah, I think he's also up there as agents who get players, clubs that they probably shouldn't get anywhere near, really.
But I do think he's doing something right. I mean, it's not an accident that he's played at Real, Juventus twice, Atletico, Chelsea. They're top teams who put a lot of emphasis on analytics and scouting and things like that. There's something there. He's clearly lacking in a sort of confidence capacity.
I think he's a good first change striker. I don't think he's a lead your line striker. I think whenever he did well, like when he did well at Real Madrid, he was coming off the bench or he was the alternative. Probably similar when he's first into Juventus. I think when he's the out and out, you're the number one, you're the main number 9 for us. I just don't think it works for him, and I don't think he handles the pressure it very, very well at all.
You're right. Yeah.
He got 20 goals in all comps for Juve this season. He's doing something right.
He's doing something right. I'd be interested how many of those are starts or how many of those are coming off the bench for Ronaldo or Dybala when they're both fit. Yeah, I would say I still think he's probably their first reserve. It's not a bad first reserve. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah, I think a few of those came up against weaker opposition as well. And you're right, Keith. Late impact subs in the Champions League. I know he got a brace or a hat trick against Ferencváros in the Champions League. Hungarian
6 goals in the Champions League. Yeah,
and I think 4 of them were against Ferencváros in the group stages. A Hungarian team who really wouldn't put up much. So yeah, stats can always be deceptive. But I do think he's a slightly misleading player in that you see the reels of all his misses, and you see the confidence issues and the body language. I think body language plays a huge part in the way we analyze players on the face of it. I think he's slightly misunderstood, but yeah, you're right. He does have some huge deficiencies in his game that certainly need work if he's to be the number one at a top tier club.
Yeah. Look, it can be harsh on him, you know what I mean? It's not his fault. There's no other Spanish strikers, and he's the one that's leading the line. But, it goes to penalties. They start off, Locatelli steps up, terrible penalty in fairness, a very easy one to save. Then I think Olmo comes up and blasts one over the bar, still looking for the ball, I'd say now.
Charlie Adams it.
Yeah, gives it a Chaz Adam, all right. And then the penalties get a bit better, you've fucking Bonucci pinging one in as well, you've Thiago rolling one, and it comes to Morata, and unfortunately for him, it just felt like he was going to mess. It didn't look confident. Yeah, it looked very telegraphed. It's a sort of penalty. If Bonucci took that penalty, you'd have gone, well, he's a centre back that's kind of, they don't look confident. And I think he'd scored as well, so he probably felt quite confident pinging a pen in, because Gerard Moreno I thought would bury one for Spain because that's what he does for Villarreal as well. But there's a lot of penalty misses in this tournament. I mean, regardless of shootouts, it has been a tournament for pretty crap penalty taken. Yeah, it has. There's been some nice penalties. But yeah, in general, the quality of them have been a bit wayward. Jorginho steps up and does the Jorginho penalty that himself and that he invented, but Bruno Fernandes gets the credit for. You never think he's going to miss. He's one of I know he has missed penalties. He missed one against us for Chelsea, but
you always expect him to go.
Taker, isn't he? And Conor, I know as a Chelsea fan, you'd know more than we would, but he's an excellent penalty taker. And when you see a player like that stepping up, it's a tale of two probably penalty. Morata's going up, and even though he scores, you still think there's a confidence issue. You don't get that with Jorginho. You're 100% thinking this is going to go in.
Absolutely. You say it spot on there. it is all about the mentality. I think there's two aspects to taking penalties. It's your technique. Can you place it in the corner? Can you hit it with pace? And, your mental aspect. Can you cope with the pressure? And nothing more so than a European Championship semi-finals. And he's got both, clearly. You're right. I don't know, maybe I'm old school, but I prefer someone to come up and just leather it than do the hop, skip and jump and place it in the corner, wait for the keeper to move. I know all that is sort of in vogue at the moment, but
that's
when it goes wrong, it looks bleeding terrible. It's like a Panenka, isn't it? Like it looks great, but if a keeper just stays still.
That's why we love James Milner. Is a no nonsense.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'd have someone like Harry Kane, Frank Lampard, the type who just run up to it and just leather in the top bag.
Short enough run and just blade and smack it in and don't worry about the aesthetics of it all. Yeah. But Italy go through. It wasn't their most impressive game tonight, but in fairness, a semi-final win against Spain, even if it's not a great Spanish team, it's still a good victory. Impressive. It's impressive nonetheless, and it puts them into the final, lads, and it brings us then to the other semi-final on tomorrow. Your team, lads, your boys, they play Denmark. It's back at Wembley, is it again? That pitch looked a bit crap there tonight as well. I don't know.
It doesn't look the best.
It's a lot of games getting played on it over a short enough period of time, but I don't think it's going to really impact England tomorrow. Are you confident? I'll start with you, Chris. Are you confident for England going into this game?
No.
And don't be fake nervous. Do you know what I mean? Just be honest. No,
not confident. I mean, on paper, you'd say England could go through, but I've seen many of England's sides that make this sort of thing hard work, and I do think Denmark are going to be a lot tougher than people think. They're probably the bit of the kryptonite for England because they will defend well, but they have got talents on the break. So it's probably a little bit of a Premier League style game, this. So hopefully that'll suit England. I mean, look, they have confidence. The real test for England will be if they concede first. Because obviously we haven't conceded yet. We haven't seen what England do when they go behind or they got some adversity. Because at the moment they've always managed to get ahead, and then they seem to have found a very good way of managing games once they're ahead. So I think England will get through, but I think it will be very, very tight. I'm thinking like a 2-1. It wouldn't even surprise me if we went to extra time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Conor, what about yourself?
Yeah, I feel the same. I think this, I alluded to it earlier, I think it will be our biggest test so far. I think we had a favourable group. I think we had a German side, maybe out of form slightly, maybe didn't have the confidence that a German side typically plays with. And you can't downplay the impact of playing all 4 of your opening games at your national stadium. I know Denmark did the same thing. I read somewhere that all 4 semi-finalists had played their opening 4 games at their home stadium, which, read into that as you will. But I think, we have got the Wembley support there tomorrow. But, I think the Danes will offer our biggest test yet. They're resolute defensively. They've got some good talents in the centre of the park. And then it remains to be seen as to whether they can be clinical up top. I do think we could hurt them, but I think we won't be afforded the same amount of space that we were against Ukraine. I mean, that's a given. Players like Simon Kjær, Christensen, Yannick Vestergaard, players like that, they won't allow Harry Kane to be drifting in and out and finding pockets. They will be tight on him. Anytime he drops, one of them will push up on him. I think the opportunity for us lies within the wide spaces. They play with attacking wing backs. It's not a 5-back, it's a 3-back. Striger, Larsen and Myler push forward and effectively play as wingers on the outside of their front 3. The front 3, their wide ones tend to drop into the middle. They've got sort of inside forwards there. So I think those spaces can be attacked, capitalised on. But, conversely, we need to be solid at the back. And I think the best way to combat that, in my opinion, would be to play a back 5. Whether we do or not, who knows? But I'm confident, I'd say. But I am aware of their capabilities. My prediction would probably be, I'm going to go 0-0 with a 1-0 England win in extra time.
Yeah, very good, very good. And Chris touched on it there. It'd be interesting if Denmark were to take the lead or even score a goal. You think of like, Ivan Drago in Rocky 4. Once he gets cut, you know what I mean? The head is gone. And England have been good, but they haven't been tested. And you touched on something there, Conor. They're a solid team, this Danish team. You look and they don't have a star player as such because Christian Eriksen is unfortunately not there. But when you look at what that team will probably be, Kasper Schmeichel is a solid goalkeeper. That back three is a good unit. Christensen, Vestergaard and Kjær is a good back three and used to playing in a back three, and it's a solid enough unit. And Delaney and Højbjerg in front of them as well. It's not like it's three at the back, two attacking fullbacks, and then the boys at centre half are left on their own, because Højbjerg and Delaney will give them that bit of cover in there. Mele has been one of the most impressive players in the tournament for me. You can see why he's gone to Atalanta. He's not maybe the standard type of player, and Gasperini loves that type of free spirit at Atalanta.
I'm surprised a big club in Atalanta haven't gone for him, to be honest.
The which?
Maya, the guy from Atalanta. I'm surprised someone bigger than Atalanta haven't tried to get him, because he's...
Yeah, he was at Genk or Ghent or something, wasn't he? And he went, and it's the type of thing they do all the time, they'll pick up these players and they look like good players. But I want to get to the front three lads of Denmark, and Yusuf Poulsen, I don't see starting in the game. I think Kasper Dolberg has come in from nowhere and scored 3 goals. He's not, he's not going to strike fear into the England defence. Martin Braithwaite has been an absolute disaster for Barcelona. Every time I've seen him, I think he looks so fish out of water in that squad. But he looks better in the Danish squad, and he looks to be a bit of a spark plug for them in their attack. But the one I want to come to, lads, it's Mikkel Damsgaard, right? Mikkel Damsgaard is a young guy, Sampdoria, and he has sort of been one of the biggest surprises of the tournament for me. He's a player that I would, I think could cause England problems, because I can see him getting in around. I know I've slated Declan Rice already, but I can see him getting in around them pockets, and putting pressure on Rice in the sort of holding midfield role and getting in between him and the back four. I think he's the danger man for Denmark tomorrow. Do you agree or do you disagree? Is it more the team ethic, or who do you think causes the most issues for England, if anyone, from the Danish side?
Yeah, I agree. I think Damsgaard is the danger man to look out for. But it does depend on how England choose to nullify his threat. He's got considerable threat, and he's sort of one of those inside forwards that we're seeing more and more of in the game, that come in, they're efficient with their dribbling, chance creation, not necessarily the best scorer or striker of a ball in the world, but what they'll do is they'll create chaos in it. They'll draw men out and destabilize a backline. Whether we can be organised in bringing one man out of our 5, which I think we'll play a 5 against Denmark. If he plays on the right, that will be Harry Maguire tracking the man into midfield. Whether we can do that enough, or whether we'll leave that up to someone like Rice, I think that can be the sort of determining factor as to whether we can effectively nullify his threat. If we leave that up to Rice, who's not the most mobile player, I will happily admit, even though I would love to see him back at Chelsea. If we can bring a centre-half into midfield to sort of close those areas that he operates in, those central areas where he can pick a pass, then I think his threat can be nullified. If not, I agree with you. I think he's the man to watch out for, the man that can create all the danger.
You mentioned going with the back 5 there, Conor. Give us your what you'd line up with. What are you going with?
Sure. Well, I think Pickford obviously is a given in goal, and I think the back 3 kind of picks itself. I'd go for Walker, Stones, Maguire. I think Walker does that job excellently of being able to push up into midfield, provide athleticism to go back and forward, and provide an overlap on the right-hand side. Personally, I'd pick Reece James as the right wing-back. He's played in that system, that 3-4-3, to great effect this season. Champions League winner, can't say it enough. But Southgate has his favourites, and Trippier is one of those, provides set-piece threats, so maybe you'll go with him. Winner. Yeah, Champions League, La Liga. Can they be compared? Who knows? And then Luke Shaw is obviously a given at left back. I'd stick with the two pivot, Phillips and Rice in midfield, and then the attacking trio is where it gets interesting. Kane's a guaranteed starter, as is Sterling. One remaining spot up for grabs. Personally, for me, it's got to be Jack Grealish. I think he just creates uncertainty, instability in a back line, creates chances, runs at men, does things that other players wouldn't. He's bold, he's adventurous, he creates chances. I don't think you can argue against. So
you don't have Mason Mount in that team?
No, I don't. If we start with a 5, I wouldn't start with Mount. If we start with a 4, I would, as that extra man in midfield to complement Phillips and Rice.
Interesting, yeah. I personally look, Jack Grealish is a great player, but I think he sees him as an impact sub. If anything, if he did go with the 3 at the back, he'd probably, you can never tell, he might go with Saka for his fucking defensive capabilities, you know. And that's the thing with Southgate, is that sort of the fear of defeat rather than going out and winning. So it'd be interesting to see if he does line up. Chris, do you see him going with a 4 at the back, or do you think he might try and sort of throw in a back 3? Do you think it's a bit
it wouldn't surprise me if we went for a back 3, because he is a more conservative manager. I personally think he should stick with a 4 at the back, 2 holders, and do 4-2-3-1 or 4-3-3, depending which way it falls. That's what I would do. I'd back 4 wise, I'd keep Shaw, Maguire, Stones, Pickford. They're all fine. Me personally, I would start Trippier at right back over Walker, because I think Walker's been dog shit most of the tournament. I think he's got absolute brain farts in him. And if I was Denmark, I would target Walker, because you know he's got a mistake in him and you know you can get behind him. He doesn't. Walker is one of those, because he's got so much pace, he gets away with it. Yeah. But he's got no awareness of what's around him at all. I think he'll stick with the 2 of Rice and Phillips, because it's the 2 that's got him to a semi-final. So it'd be a bit harsh. You're not going to change it. If it was me, I think we look a better side generally with Henderson in next to Phillips, because I think again Rice hasn't done it for me, So, but I think he seems to like Henderson off for the last half hour. And in fairness to Henderson, he's looked quite good as the mature head to come on for the last half hour to close games out. And then the debate then is, it seems to like Mount, and in fairness to Mount, he's had a good season. You can't knock him. So it wouldn't surprise me if it was Mount. And then front 3, I agree. I think he'll probably go Sterling, Kane, and I think if he's fit, he'll throw Saka in. Yeah. If he's fit. And I think he'll use Grealish as a last 25 minute. But I personally would start Grealish, because I think perhaps we need that little bit of something different. But I think Southgate prefers him as a impact last half hour player, which is not the worst option to have. But that's what I would go. I would personally go for back 4.
Tired legs, and you're bringing on a Jack Grealish who can run and can win fouls and win free kicks. Yeah, it makes sense. Just about Mason Mount, I think Mason Mount's probably the best young player in that squad. I think he's an absolutely exceptional footballer. I'd have him in the team all day, every day, ahead of, even if it's down to Grealish, I'd get Mount in the team. I think he's so clever with the ball. I think he's a brilliant player. So it'll be interesting to see how it goes. And I know you have said you both probably think it's going to go to extra time, and maybe England to nick it, which it sets up for final. Is it coming home, lads?
No idea.
Absolutely, without doubt. Not sitting on the fence like Chris. Absolutely, without doubt, it's coming home.
I knew you were going to be a lot more forceful on that, Conor. But look,
it's probably because Conor gives more of a shit than I do. That's probably the
problem. Almost definitely.
But now, look, it's set up nicely, because you did touch on it, Conor. All the games at Wembley, except for the one, and the final being there as well. It's such a big psychological thing to have your home, your familiarity, and all that. And I think, it's a huge plus. It's a chance to win a tournament. It's England's best chance to win a tournament, ever. People say 96, the Germany were a good team in 96 as well. They had to get past a good team.
Well, with the way 96, so whoever won that semi-final was probably winning the final. As good as that Czech side was, it wasn't as good as the other two sides. No. So this does give it is England's best opportunity, but I mean, this is an Italian side that's conceded 3 goals in the tournament, and before that, I don't think they conceded for
13 games.
13 games. So they've only ever, I think they've conceded twice, once in the last 18 months, and that was against Austria. No, so it wasn't against one. So,
but the worry is the injuries that the Italians are picking up now. It could come back to haunt them. So look, it'll be interesting.
But they've got a feel of that. Do you know the Chelsea side that won in Munich? Yeah, that's it. Mm-hmm. When they had a lot of key players out, it seemed to suit them. A bit like United in '99. Sometimes when you lose key players in those sort of fans, it galvanizes you.
Yeah, 100%. Very true, very true. So, anyway, that's our roundup. Before we finish up, lads, because it's fucking late. It's nearly 12 o'clock. I just want to mention the Copa America is on the wall. I just want to mention the Siena steps. I'm sure people have seen, anyone follows us on Twitter may have seen the tweet we put out earlier about our new sort of initiative to help to get Sienna. Sienna's a young girl. She's only 3. She's got a form of cerebral palsy, and to get the treatment that she needs to get her walking, it's in America, and it's costing a lot of money. I think there's 120,000 euros to target, and they're getting there. There's loads of people are doing great things, but the lads have come up with a novel thing to try and help, and we're going to try and get people to pay €1 to buy a virtual seat at Anfield. And what we're looking to do is just to sell 53,000 virtual €1 tickets to help get this little girl a chance. It's not about the LFC Daytrippers. It's not about Liverpool. This is about helping a 3-year-old girl get a chance. Gav has said it on the show, to aim to get this little girl walking into school on her first day is what we're looking to do. We're unashamedly sort of pushing this agenda. We won't apologise. People probably get bored. We don't want to hear about this. We don't want to, but look, we think this is a great cause, and it's something that we're going to keep backing. But the tickets are now on sale, and you can just pay €1. €1 and buys your seat. You're not going to Anfield, just to clarify. You don't get tickets to a game. You don't get tickets to anything. You're just paying for a virtual seat to fill the capacity of Anfield. Share the message, spread the word. Buy a seat if you can. Spread it. Buy 10 seats if you can. Just spread the message, spread the word. If everyone got involved and just paid €1, I think we'd help this little girl get to her target, and that's what we're hoping to do. So if everyone can just go on to the LFCDT website, the information is all in there, how you can support and how you can back it. We would appreciate any help. As I said, it's €1. We're not asking people to, people are struggling for money. We're not going to do it. I'm not Bob Geldof. I'm not coming on here saying, give me your money. I sort of am, but I'm not really.
You're not swearing.
But yeah, I do a bit of swearing as well, but I'll try and cut back on this. But we're just looking for people to give €1, right? Give €1. If everyone gives €1, I think it'll get the girl where she needs to be. So spreading the word is just as important. Do you know what I mean? You don't have to be a Liverpool fan. You don't have to be an LFC Daytrippers fan. Do you know what I mean? It's just to help a little girl get a chance, giving her a chance at a good life, and that's all we're looking to do. So get on, support that. It's something. You'll find all the information on the website, the LFCDT website. It's all in there. It'll be all over Twitter. We're all posting it. We're all sharing it. Any help is greatly appreciated with that. So we really appreciate people going in and trying to get us over the line with this. We'd appreciate it, but I think Sienna and our family would really appreciate it. If we can help in any small way, we're always happy to do that. So look, get on and do that. There we go. If all our followers on Twitter bought a ticket each, we'd sell out with loads to spare. Do you know what I mean? So look, if people can just throw in an €1, why not? And we'll try and get people shared, and as many people, high profile people, we'll try and get loads of people to share this message, because as I said there, it's not about us. It's not about Liverpool fans. It's not about the LFC Daytrippers. It's about Sienna. We just happen to support this. Before we go, Ali A, is there a watch along for the Copa America tonight? That would be Grizz and Avi if they were doing it. I'm only coming out of retirement to do the final, and I'm only doing it if Argentina get there. So I don't know if the lads are doing a watch along on it tonight. Maybe they are. Them two like to stay up till all hours. I can't confirm at this stage whether they're doing it or not. But we will be doing one on Saturday night for the final. So that will be good crack. But look, enough of this football talk. Chris, thank you very much for joining me tonight.
Welcome, mate. Anytime.
Good stuff. Conor, thank you again. It's great to have you on. You're going to be becoming more of a familiar face around these parts as the new season progresses.
Absolutely. Yeah, thank you. It's been a pleasure to be on. I'm off to give Abby a ring because I know he turns into a bit of an emotional wreck when Spain lose. So
he does, he does. It's a pray for Abby type of thing when the Spanish lose. But look, it's great to have you on. It'll be interesting to hear your views when it's Premier League. You know what I mean? And the Chelsea angle from a Premier League stuff. So I look forward to that in the future and getting you on and having a few good conversations around that. So look, lads, as you said, we've been the LFC Daytrippers. Support Sienna. That's all we're asking people to go on. Anyone that follows us, just go on and pay. We're not asking you to buy 100 tickets, although you can. We're just asking you to buy a ticket. You know what I mean? So get on and support that cause. We would really appreciate it. So look, I've been your host and we will see you again soon.